In the first step, you will create a new form that pulls a list of contacts from the database. This form will include search by name and a sort by functionality. You will also offer your users to call a phone number or find a location in Google Maps directly from the form with the link control. You will allow the user to make edits to the contact information by binding the reference data into user-editable controls, and by writing a server-side script to make the changes take effect in the cloud. You need to set up the reference table with the contacts. Fire up the text editor and create the contacts.refm reference table declaration file for the contacts list. The ID column needs to have the primary key equals true attribute. This will identify the rows for the server-side script. A column that has the primary key equals true attribute declared must have the not null equals true attribute. The address column has a not null equals false attribute, because some address fields can be empty in the reference table. Save and publish the refm file to generate the reference table in the Mobilengine cloud. Download the input data spreadsheet to populate the contacts reference table from our tutorial pages. Save it to the Rocky Jupyter folder. Create a new contacts form. Set up a contacts table dynamic list control with the layout equals table attribute and bind the reference table into it. Reference every column of the contact reference table in the dynamic list controls generator attribute. Don't forget to declare the data type of all the columns that you reference. You want to display the values in the reference table columns. So bind the columns into label controls inside the contacts table dynamic list control. Make the ID column hidden with the visible equals false attribute. The user doesn't need to know about a contacts database ID. Save the file as contacts.form.xml in your Rocky Jupyter folder and publish it. Now you can see all the contacts in your new form. Easy so far, right? Now for the search. Put an empty Search by Name text box to the top of your form. And for the sort, put a Sort By segmented control below the text box. The segmented control will display name and category, so set its reference attribute to the static query select name union all select category. The user will be able to sort the result of the search by the name or the category column of the reference table. You'll need to modify the query statement in the contacts table dynamic list control to make the search box and the sorting control work. Add a where expression that references the value in the text box, concatenated with the % wildcard. This will make the dynamic list only return the reference data that begin with the characters that the user enters into the Search by Name text box. Reference the segmented controls value in the query statement to get the sorting to work. Add an order by expression with a conditional case expression that references the segmented control. Don't forget to reference both the text box and the segmented control in the refarg attribute. Save the file. Check that the filtering and sorting works. When you enter a letter, only the contacts whose names match the letter will appear, and you can reorder them based on their names or the names of their categories. The mobile form language lets you add controls that use the dialing and mapping applications on a smartphone to instantly call a phone number or find an address. Below the column phone label, add the phone link control. Your link control will use the dialing function if you use the link type equals phone number attribute. Use the link target reference and link target ref arg attributes to bind the value of the column phone into the link control. Repeat these steps below the column address label. But in this case, use the link type equals address attribute to use the mapping function. And bind the value of the column address into this link control. Publish your solution and check it on your mobile device. Tap the call link to dial the number. And if you tap the Find link, the Google Maps application will start and show the address. If you want the user to be able to modify the data that you bind into the contacts table control, replace the type equals label controls in the dynamic list control with type equals text box. Except for the ID column, of course. Use a drop-down control in the category column and create a static list to allow the user to choose the category from a list. Save the file, publish it, and try it out on the phone. Modify one or more contacts and submit the form. Synchronize the device. Open the form, and you can see the changes that you just made had no effect on the reference data. So even if you bind the reference data into user-editable controls, the reference data will not actually change without a workflow script that applies the user's changes to the reference table in the cloud. You'd like a workflow script that will run on the Mobilengine cloud every time a user submits the contacts mobile form, and updates the reference data that you bound into the form based on the changes that the user makes. Create the workflow script in your text editor. Server and program are both keywords in the header. The first declares that this script will run in the cloud and not on your user's device, and the second identifies the artifact as a workflow script. Make sure that you have 4 form contacts in the header of the script. This identifies the form using its name attribute, whose submission triggers the workflow script. Your script will run as soon as one of your users submits the specified form. In the second line of the header, add the name of the reference table you will want to manipulate. You want to cycle through the table in the form and check if the user has modified any of the data in the rows. Just like the JavaScript for in loop and the for each statement in C#, in the Mobilengine workflow scripting language, you use the for each statement to cycle through items in an array. You want to cycle through the rows of the contact table panel in the contacts form. In the workflow script syntax, you address a control in a form using dot notation, that is, the names of its ancestor controls starting at the form element, separated by dots. In the for each statement, the iteration variable row represents each of the table's rows. In the code block of the for each statement, you want to update the contact reference table to the user input in the form. The built-in DB variable is a map with all the reference tables that you put into the script header. Update is a function available for reference tables. It takes 2 parameters, a target row in the table and the new values for the target row. Workflow scripts assign values to elements with maps, a collection of name-value pairs very much like JavaScript objects. The syntax for map literals is also very similar to the JavaScript object notation. Name of the entry, followed by a colon, followed by an expression that evaluates to the value of the entry. Map entry assignments are separated by commas and enclosed in curly braces. Save the file as contactupdater.rfs and publish your solution. Workflow scripts only run when a predefined event triggers them. So go ahead and submit the triggering form to make it run. Open the contacts form that you defined as the trigger. Modify 1 or 2 fields and submit the form. After the synchronization, you can see in your form that the changes have become part of the contact reference table. Naturally, you'll be interested in what is going on in the cloud. Log in to the back office site. The Dev Console log screen records every single event in the cloud. A new log entry has been generated for the workflow script. Click More for the details of the script's activity. If the script failed, you will see the problems here.